And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is our Week 6 preview of the MLR 2025 season. Good Lord, already in Week 6. Again, this season has gone by really, really fast because, again, just a lot of amazing rugby action, and we still have an amazing slate of games this week as well. 5 games all on one day on Saturday, so you have a full day of rugby. Unfortunately, a couple games do overlap, so you're not going to be able to watch every game absolutely live, the full game. You will have to jump through a couple of games back and forth if you need to. Again, all the games are live in the United States on ESPN Plus, internationally on the Rugby Network. If you don't want to pay for ESPN Plus, you gotta wait 72 hours, and then the replays will be on the Rugby Network. Replays are almost instantaneous after the game is done on ESPN Plus, so that makes it a great deal, especially for guys like myself who like to watch every game, but don't have the luxury of watching them all at once. So it's easy to binge when they're uploaded almost immediately afterwards. So with that being said, let's get to the action. So again, all 5 games on Saturday, March 22nd, we kick off 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, a very, very big rivalry between your reigning, defending two-time MLR champions, the New England Free Jacks, taking on Old Glory DC. These two teams have faced off against each other 10 times so far. A pretty lopsided rivalry. New England holds 8 wins to Old Glory's 2. Now, granted, in this rivalry, they play each other tough. I mean, Old Glory really always plays New England very tough. They have an issue with them to prove. Last season, they did start off the season with the win over New England by 1 point, 35-34. But then after that, New England did win the game 31-30. So again, by 1 point, New England won. And then, of course, in the playoffs, New England was able to take down Old Glory 33-29, but still by 4 points. So these games are usually very, very close. Now, full disclosure, originally I was going to pick New England for this game, but the more and more I thought about it, New England has not been playing like New England, and I don't know what it is. They do have a lot of their players back, but it could be just the caliber, it could be just, kind of a rough start for them. But Old Glory has been looking pretty impressive. So, and I know this is going to make John from Rugby Morning very, very happy. But I am going. The game is being played in Old Glory at the Maryland Soccerplex. So home pitch advantage. I think Old Glory can get it. Now it's not going to be by a lot because if you see again, 4 points, 1-1 are the point differences in the last 3 games. I think this game will come down to about 3 points as well. But I feel Old Glory will take it from your reigning, defending, two-time MLR champions, the New England Free Jacks. Then, moving on, we have an East Coast, West Coast game, or Eastern Conference, Western Conference game, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Houston SaberCats going over to the American Legion Memorial Stadium. And again, a little sidebar, if you haven't heard, USA Rugby just announced the Summer of Rugby. I have a video about that. Check out my YouTube channel. And because 2 of those games for USA, where they play against the Netherlands and Spain, will be at the Maryland Soccerplex. So, I'm sorry, Maryland Soccerplex. I'm all over the place today. That's at Old Glory. They're going to be at the American Legion Memorial Stadium. So if you're in the area, get tickets. The ticket information is available. I'll put the link in the description below. But again, everyone's going to be in Charlotte during the summer for some USA national test matches. But before that, Houston visits to take on Anthem Rugby Carolina. Now, this is going to be interesting because there's been a theme so far. Every team that's been on bye has been losing. NOLA was on team last week. NOLA was the team that was on bye the prior 2 weeks ago, and they lost to New England. So what's going to happen with Houston and Anthem because they both were on bye? I wonder how that will play out. Maybe it'll be a draw in this game. I still believe that Anthem should win at least 4 games this season. Houston has been looking very, very dominant so far. They of course hold a one-win rivalry in this game. These two teams have only played once so far last season. Pretty dominant performance by Houston, 38-15. I don't think it'll be that big of a difference, but unfortunately, like I said, I do think Anthem will eventually win 4 games this season. This is not one of those games. I'm going to give this one to Houston. And again, I don't think it's going to be as big a difference as 17 points. I think it'll be a little bit smaller, like maybe by 10, but Houston walks away with the win after going to Anthem at the American Legion Memorial Stadium. Then we have another game going on in the Eastern Conference, Western versus Eastern, also at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. RFCLA goes over to the Gold Mine to take on NOLA Gold. As I mentioned before, NOLA Gold did lose last week against New England, but RFCLA got their very first win of the season against Seattle, looking great in that performance. They do have to travel to the Big Easy. The humidity over there much, much different than LA. But I feel LA will have that momentum. These two teams did play against each other last season. It was kind of a lopsided victory for NOLA, 38-21. But I fully believe that RFCLA are starting some momentum, and they're going to make it back-to-back victories in 2 weeks for RFCLA. And now let's finish up with the last 2 games of the weekend slate. Both of these starting at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But man, some very interesting matchups. First, we have a Western Conference rivalry game between the Utah Warriors going over to Starfire Stadium in Tooele, Washington, to take on the Seattle Seawolves. These two teams have faced off against each other 9 times already. Seattle has won 6 of those 9 games. Utah's won 3. Last season, Seattle pretty much dominated Utah. Both times that they played, they won. Seattle won 68-29 and 23-13. The 68-29 game, that was at Seattle. Utah has been looking really strong this season. Seattle has been the team that unfortunately they just lost to LA. I kind of want to say that Utah can win this, but again, I've been saying this. I don't feel Seattle will. I don't feel head coach of Seattle, Alan Clarkey, will allow Seattle to be the way they are now. I'm pretty sure he had a big talking to the team after the LA loss. Seattle Starfire Stadium is a very loud stadium. It's hard to play there. I think the home pitch advantage will really help out Seattle. So I think Seattle is able to walk away with the win this one. I think Utah might have a little bit too much to handle in that one, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very close game. And then the last game, technically, this starts at the same time as the Utah-Seattle game, but the other game, Miami goes over to Toronto Stadium in San Diego to take on the San Diego Legion. Miami has to go across the country to take on arguably the best team in the league right now, the San Diego Legion, the only undefeated team in the league. Thing is, San Diego was on a bye. Again, I mentioned before that so far every team that's been on the bye has lost. Does that mean San Diego's going to lose as well? I think that's asking a lot. If Miami can pull it off, that will be a big upset in my opinion. Now, granted, the last time that these two teams faced off against each other, San Diego barely won, 22-21. Now, granted, that was in Miami. So traveling across the country is very difficult. Miami has been struggling a little bit after a pretty hot start. San Diego, though, has been looking very good so far this season. I think it's asking a lot for Miami to come off with the win. So I believe San Diego will still be the top team to beat in the league with the victory over Miami. So those are my predictions and preview of the week. Again, 5 games all on Saturday. You can watch them all live if you're in the United States on ESPN Plus, if you're international on the Rugby Network. And again, all the games will be on demand on ESPN Plus pretty much right after they end. You have to wait 72 hours if you're here in the States and you don't want to pay for ESPN to watch them later on the Rugby Network. So But yeah, it should be a fun, exciting week. Good grief, it's week 6. Still surprises me. It doesn't feel like it's been that quick of a season, but it really has. So we are getting down to almost the halfway point of the season. It's crazy. Anyways, thank you very much for checking out my video. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the pitch.